The film begins in the wilderness, where a young Sergei is on a hunting trip with his father, Nikolai, a wealthy and ruthless businessman. Their father and son dynamic is tense, as Nikolai forces Sergei to confront his fears and prove himself. Nikolai orders Sergei to take down a ferocious lion that has been stalking them. Sergei hesitates, but his father's relentless pressure pushes him to act. As Sergei ventures deeper into the wilderness with his younger brother Dmitry by his side, the tension builds. The mighty lion appears and Sergei raises his rifle and takes aim, instructing Dmitry to stay back. His voice is steady, but there's a hint of unease as the lion locks eyes with him. In that moment, Sergei feels something he's never experienced before, a deep, almost mystical connection. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out, shattering the moment. The majestic creature lets out a deafening roar and charges towards Sergei. The lion pounces, grabbing Sergei and dragging him into the bush. As the lion carries Sergei away, it eventually slows and drops him onto the ground. Sergei, bleeding and disoriented, looks up at the lion, which now seems less aggressive. The beast leans over him, and a few drops of its blood fall into a deep wound on Sergei's arm. Elsewhere in the same game reserve, an older woman known as a shaman reads her cards. Her granddaughter, Calypso, watches intently as the shaman flips over the final card. The reading reveals a powerful vision. A lion imbued with magical abilities has attacked someone, not to kill but to pass on its gifts. The shaman explains that this event was foretold by the spirits and that the victim will need help to survive the transformation. She hands Calypso a vial of a glowing potion, instructing her to venture into the wild and find the chosen one. Calypso hesitates but trusts her grandmother's wisdom and sets out on the mission. Following her instincts, she comes across Sergei, lying unconscious and gravely injured. His wounds are severe, but Calypso knows she's found the person her grandmother spoke of. Without hesitation, Calypso pours the potion into Sergei's mouth. The mystical liquid glows faintly as it enters his system, and Sergei's breathing stabilizes. Calypso quickly calls for help. Within minutes, a helicopter arrives, and Sergei is airlifted to safety. A few days later, Sergei wakes up in hospital. The attack by the lion has left him deeply shaken, and the cold demeanor of his father, Nikolai, only exacerbates his emotional turmoil. Nikolai visits Sergei's bedside but shows no concern for his son's well-being. Instead, he criticizes Sergei for hesitating to shoot the lion, calling it a failure of character. His words cut deeply, leaving Sergei feeling isolated and inadequate. Dmitry, on the other hand, stays by Sergei's side, offering comfort and support, but even his presence can't shake the weight of their father's disdain. A few days later, while sorting through his belongings, Sergei finds a letter tucked away in a hidden pocket of his bag. It's from his mother, written years earlier. In the letter, she explains why she left the family. She couldn't endure Nikolai's relentless cruelty and feared that his influence would corrupt her sons. She expresses her love for Sergei and Dmitry, urging them to hold on to their compassion and humanity despite their father's harshness. As Sergei's strength returns, he becomes increasingly restless. He can't shake the feeling that he doesn't belong in his father's world of dominance and control. One night, he decides to leave. Packing a small bag, he quietly makes his way out of the family estate. Just as he's about to slip into the night, Dmitry catches him. The younger boy, on the verge of tears, begs Sergei not to abandon him. Dmitry fears being left alone with their father, whose temper and expectations have only grown harsher. Sergei tells Dmitry that he must leave to find his purpose and to escape their father's toxic influence. With a heavy heart, Sergei walks away, leaving Dmitry behind. A few days later, Sergei finds himself in Russia, where he hopes to start anew. But the changes within him continue to manifest in unexpected ways. Within minutes, he hears a distant rumble. The ground trembles beneath his feet, and he realizes a herd of rhinos is stampeding toward him. Panic sets in as he braces for the worst, but as the leader of the herd approaches, it slows down and locks eyes with him. In that moment, Sergei feels a profound connection with the animal, as though it recognizes him as an ally rather than a threat. The herd veers around him, leaving him unharmed. Sergei is left standing in awe, realizing that his connection to the animal kingdom is far deeper than he could have imagined. As the days turn into weeks, Sergei begins to test the limits of his newfound abilities. His enhanced senses allow him to track animals with precision, and he discovers that he can communicate with them on an instinctual level. Later, Sergei hears distant gunshots echoing through the trees and instinctively climbs the tallest tree nearby to get a better view. From his vantage point, Sergei sees a group of poachers in the distance, their rifles aimed at a herd of rhinos. He watches helplessly as the majestic creatures fall one by one, their horns brutally hacked off by the poachers. Sergei descends the tree and sprints toward the scene. By the time he arrives, The poachers have already loaded the rhino horns into their truck, leaving the lifeless animals behind. Two poachers walk up and tell Sergei to leave. But Sergei, driven by an overwhelming rage and his deep bond with the wildlife, refuses to back down. Sergei's instincts take over. His strength, speed, and heightened senses, gifts from the lion's blood, manifest fully for the first time. In a blur of motion, Sergei attacks the poachers, disarming and overpowering them with ease. Years pass, and Sergei has grown into a formidable man, honing his skills and dedicating his life to safeguarding the wildlife and ecosystem he feels so deeply connected to. One day, after completing a covert mission abroad, Sergei steps off a plane, his demeanor calm but weary. Back at his secluded estate, Sergei finds solace in the vast wilderness surrounding his home. The land is his sanctuary, a place where animals roam freely under his protection. However, trouble soon finds its way back to him. A group of poachers, undeterred by previous encounters, trespass onto his land and target the rhinos once again, brutally removing their horns and loading them into their truck. Their path is suddenly blocked. Sergei stands in the middle of the dirt road. The poachers shout at him to move, their arrogance blinding them to the danger they're in. Sergei, calm but unyielding, tells them they've trespassed for the last time. When the poachers ignore his warning and try to drive through, Sergei leaps onto the truck with inhuman agility. The vehicle swerves as Sergei begins his assault. His fury is unmatched as he dismantles their operation, his strength and precision leaving the poachers defenseless. Back in London, Dmitry, now a talented singer, regularly performs at his father Nikolai's upscale restaurant. The venue is a lavish establishment frequented by high-profile clients, often doubling as a front for Nikolai's underhanded dealings. One evening, as Dmitry finishes a soulful performance, Nikolai conducts a meeting in a private room with one of his contacts, a poacher seeking a lucrative deal. Nikolai proposes terms, but the man hastily agrees without negotiation, raising Nikolai's suspicions. His instincts prove correct when, moments later, the restaurant is ambushed. Gunmen burst in, spraying bullets as chaos erupts. Nikolai, ever the survivor, quickly takes cover and retaliates, dispatching the attackers with ruthless efficiency. Dmitry, hiding under his piano, watches in terror. Once the dust settles, Dmitry emerges, shaken but unharmed. He checks on his father, who coldly berates him for his cowardice, accusing him of being weak. The next day, Sergei arrives in London, intent on reconnecting with Dmitry. Knowing his brother's habits, Sergei climbs to the rooftop of Dmitry's apartment building and sneaks in through the sliding door. Dmitry, startled but thrilled, embraces his older brother. Overjoyed by the reunion, Dmitry reveals that it's his birthday and insists they celebrate. He hands Sergei a sharp suit, joking that his brother's rugged style won't cut it in the city. That evening, they head to their father's restaurant. Over dinner, the brothers catch up, with Dmitry venting about the immense pressure Nikolai places on him to live up to the family legacy. Sergei reassures him, emphasizing that fear is human and that they don't have to be alike to be strong. Their heartfelt moment is interrupted by Nikolai's arrival. For the first time in years, Nikolai sees both his sons together, and his stoic demeanor softens. The family celebrates Dmitry's birthday, raising glasses in a rare moment of unity. The following morning, Sergei returns to Dmitry's apartment, only to find the door ajar and the place in disarray. Looking out the window, he sees a van with men forcing his brother in. Without hesitation, Sergei leaps from the rooftop and gives chase. His enhanced senses and agility allow him to close the distance, and he manages to jump onto the van. Clinging to the side, Sergei tries to break through the bulletproof windows, but the kidnappers swerve and accelerate, shaking him off before disappearing into the city. Determined to save his brother, Sergei confronts Nikolai, demanding answers. Nikolai reveals that the kidnappers are demanding $20 million for Dmitry's safe return. However, Nikolai coldly refuses to pay, claiming that yielding to the ransom would expose him as weak and embolden his enemies. Enraged by his father's callousness, Sergei accuses him of valuing power over his own family. Their argument escalates, but Sergei storms out, vowing to rescue Dmitry on his own. Using his contacts and instincts, Sergei tracks the kidnappers to a remote location. He flies to the destination and scopes out the heavily guarded building. Sergei infiltrates the compound, using his heightened abilities to move silently. He neutralizes guards one by one, sedating them to avoid drawing attention. However, the kidnappers quickly realize something is wrong when several of their men fail to report back. A search party is dispatched to investigate. Sergei ambushes the search team, taking them out with precision. But as he presses deeper into the building, he discovers too late that he's walked into a trap. Explosions rock the structure, and Sergei is caught in the chaos. Amid the rubble, Sergei captures one of the kidnappers and demands answers. The man tells him that the Rhino has his brother, before Rox collapses and buries them both under the shower of debris. Elsewhere, Rhino sits across from Dmitri. He explains his past, revealing that he too was once weak and overlooked, much like Dmitri. His father constantly belittled him, undermining his potential. Rhino recounts how he stumbled upon a professor experimenting with a chemical designed to amplify human strength tenfold. Desperate to prove himself, Rhino took the chemical for himself, transforming into the monstrous, powerful figure now feared as Rhino. Before Dmitri can respond, they hear the hum of an elevator. Rhino assumes it's Sergei coming for his brother. He readies himself for a confrontation, but as the elevator doors slide open, it's not Sergei, it's the Foreigner. The Foreigner, a mysterious figure with the eerie ability to render people motionless with a touch, steps into the room. He offers to kill Sergei, revealing a personal vendetta. Sergei killed his mentor, and the Foreigner seeks revenge. Rhino and the Foreigner strike a temporary alliance, united in their desire to take down Sergei. Elsewhere, Sergei welcomes Calypso to his secluded land. Calypso, now an ally, has been feeding Sergei valuable information about his enemies, but her assistance has made her a target. Sergei offers her sanctuary, knowing that powerful men are after her. Meanwhile, Rhino and the Foreigner track Sergei to a remote area in Siberia. They bring a small army, confident in their ability to capture or kill him. Unbeknownst to them, Sergei is already stalking them, using his enhanced senses and mastery of the terrain. One by one, Sergei picks off Rhino's men, dismantling their forces with stealth and precision. Rhino, believing Sergei to be dead after an explosive encounter, retreats with Dmitri. However, as they drive, a herd of wild rhinos charges toward their convoy. The massive animals smash into the vehicles, flipping them over. Sergei emerges from the chaos, confronting Rhino directly. Rhino, enraged, transforms into his humanoid rhino form, his body expanding and hardening into a near impenetrable mass. The two clash in an epic battle, their raw strength shaking the frozen ground beneath them. Rhino's brute force meets Sergei's agility and strategy, each blow a test of endurance and willpower. The fight rages on, showcasing their contrasting styles, Rhino's overwhelming power against Sergei's cunning and precision. Eventually, Sergei gains the upper hand, exploiting Rhino's lack of speed and landing a decisive blow. As Rhino lies defeated, he reveals a shocking truth before taking his last breath. Sergei's father, Nikolai, orchestrated everything. The kidnapping of Dmitri, the attacks, and even Rhino's involvement were all part of Nikolai's plan to manipulate Sergei into eliminating his enemies. Later, Sergei tracks Nikolai to a secluded spot in the woods. Nikolai doesn't deny the accusations. He coldly admits that he used Sergei to do his dirty work, knowing he couldn't face his enemies himself. The kidnapping of Dmitri was merely a ploy to ensure Sergei's compliance. Disgusted and heartbroken, Sergei expresses his disappointment in his father's lack of humanity and leaves him to face the dangers of the wild alone. 1 year later, life has changed for both brothers. Dmitri, free from his father's oppressive expectations, pursues his passion for music, performing with joy and confidence. Sergei, embracing his role as a protector and hunter, dedicates himself to safeguarding the balance of nature, ensuring that no one exploits the wild for selfish gain again. Make sure to like and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.